You're listening to The Great and Secret Knowledge, a speculative fiction podcast. I'm Jeff. With me is Jessie.
Hello.
Hey, Jessie.
I'm halfway between two episodes. It's a lot.
It's so strange. We decided to push up the timeline a little bit. I'm on vacation, so I can stay up late, which allows Jessie to join us like after work instead of in the morning. And it's also Tuesday. Like, we just saw each other.
Yeah, we've been doing like weekly on the weekends, and now it's absolutely after work.
Yeah, so usually we give it like a 5 or 6 days to think about what we've seen before we end up talking about it. But here it's just 3 days later. We've both seen it twice or thrice. Yeah, I saw it thrice.
Me too. I watched it twice the night it came out, and then again today while I was supposed to be working.
This one hit me as a solid, functional, suitable episode of Doctor Who. It wasn't a dip like in the Monk trilogy where it's like, oh, this again. You know, it was like it did its job. It didn't overstay its welcome. It wasn't as stylish as the other episodes, and it wasn't as emotional as other episodes, but it hit all the notes, you know, for me.
Yeah, it was a classic part one of a two-parter, so you're going to have a lot of exposition.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly left you with more questions than answers, and that's why I'm glad we're recording before we watch the next one. I don't think our perspectives would be the same if we didn't record between the two.
Mm-hmm.
If we had all the answers, because this is rounding out a 2-season arc. Russell has been very clear that he wrote all of it to be a 2-season story arc.
That's interesting.
So he hasn't just decided to throw these things in at the end, like Rogue and the 73 yards. So I do, he's been planning this, because I think they obviously had a 2-year contract or whatever, a contract for 2 seasons. That's why there's so much doubt, I think, as to what the future of the show will be moving forward. I have a theory on this, though, and it only just occurred to me today, but this could be part of, like, if it does turn out that it's going to be all some sort of fantasy dream rework timeline, is that why they started from calling this one season 1? If it's all going to be a dream and not really canon?
I don't know if you'd go that far. I think this could be a blind alley. But I think the Doctor's going to remember all the stuff that happened, however it shakes out. Like, I think Ruby and Belinda will still exist and can come back to later seasons.
I mean, I hope we get Belinda back. She's too good to just have for one season.
Yeah.
And I feel like she's going to wind up being too important. What if she is the mother of the Doctor's baby?
I don't think they would make a gay man have straight baby sex.
Well,
they couldn't have it be non-consensual
like
or whatever. Magic.
Space reasons.
Oh,
I mean,
magic.
the Doctor never says it might, like, I know obviously Shooty is, but the doc. I always imagine the Doctor is pansexual anyway.
Yeah. Fuck.
Like Jack, definitely had old Eccleston definitely had some kissy moments with Jack.
Yeah. Maybe some kind of DNA combinator device. Because Poppy's from like hundreds of thousands of years in the future, right?
Unless she's a time baby.
Damn. So many possibilities. Oh, boy.
I love it. I'm just glad we've got an explanation. We're going to get an explanation for why she turned up in the story in the engine, because that I was just listening to our episode on that, and we were very perturbed by the random appearance of Poppy from Space Babies in a back
Yeah.
alley in Nigeria.
Yeah, it was so odd.
I have random Poppy theories.
I think she is a robot or psychic thought form that the Rani cooked up to lure them into a false sense of confidence or something, to bond them
So I have a list in
together
my
the way
notes.
a fake person couldn't.
That works. I mean, I consider she could be an experiment of the Ranis. Probably the more popular one getting about online is that she's Susan's mother.
Susan's mother.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. Because that would be quite funny having old Carol Ann Ford there and have this tiny baby be her mum.
Jesus.
But my favourite of all my theories on Poppy is that she is the timeless child, and at some point she's going to wind up being left at that spot where Tecteun found her. It'll become full circle, so it's like the Doctor, basically.
This would mean that Belinda and the Doctor raised the Doctor. At least for a few weeks.
Well, like Rory and Amy raised Riversong.
Yeah, we don't know how long the Rani fake world with Conrad at its head, we don't know how long that's been going, right?
No, and that's where it reminds me a lot of is it?
Oh wait.
It's not Let's Kill Hitler.
Oh, this is important. I have a note. There's a moment where the Rani says, "I love this part." I think they've been time looping this over and over again, this simulation, to charge up,
to build up the Doctor's doubts.
Charge up this energy like a doubt engine, like the story engine, which then gives them enough juice to crack the universe.
I'm not mad at that. She's got something going on, and I think it's not going to be as like the way the Master always comes for the Doctor. It feels personal, whereas it doesn't feel as personal with the Rani. The Rani's kind of like, I'm doing my science, and I don't care who gets hurt along the way, as opposed to the Master, who's more of an agent of chaos.
I don't get the Rani. Like, for somebody that likes to play with the Doctor, it seems odd that she would just like cast him away to his death. Or is this just a trap, like, to keep him out of the way for a while?
Trap to keep him out of the way for a while, I think. But she says, I can't have you ruining my plan. And I know you would do everything within your power to stop me.
Yeah.
But she also says to him, we were never enemies.
That's hard to fathom. Like, she killed a ton of people in Lakertia, and we're planning to blow up half the galaxy, I think.
But she's not doing it to the Doctor. Like, it makes sense to me that she wouldn't view the Doctor as her enemy. She'd just view him as something that kind of
Oh,
gets in the way of her science.
he might view
Whereas the
her as an
Master, it's
enemy,
a
but
bit
not
more.
the other way around.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, the Doctor straight up calls her evil. So, Well, we could take this straight. We could go character by character. I was thinking maybe take Conrad first because most of his stuff is exposition, really, except
And he's
near the end.
he's very separate to the rest of what's going on. Like, you could absolutely talk about what's happening with him separately. Yeah, let's do that. So we're in
He's
it's
broadcasting
had
to
my first
everyone, right? Or is it just the Doctor and
well,
Belinda?
no, to everyone. He's on the big screens as you walk through the city. He's on like the posters. He's the weather person. He's God. They refer to him as God because otherwise, how do Ruby and Shirley know who he is?
Right. So
So I got the impression he's kind of like big Orwellian Big Brother type entity that's an allegory of J.K. Rowling.
I feel like he has to have been doing it a while to be so different from how we first met him. He's so meek and kind of fearful of the child.
Yeah, what's the child? That's the thing that confuses me the most is the child.
Like, did the child change him, or did Rani like torture him into submission? Like, mind control? Like, how is he so placid?
Well, maybe that's the impact of the Doctor cursing him with the date of his death.
I mean, he still has retrograde opinions if people can't openly be gay.
But everyone in that world has those opinions. Even the Doctor says to Colonel Ibrahim that he should, take Kate, who's their boss, out for dinner for Chinese. And, then she wouldn't have to work anymore.
Yeah.
If you guys got married. So even the Doctor's showing some pretty, like, patriarchal, archaic views.
And for the Doctor's personality to be cemented in that way, he'd either had to have been wished to be that way or been acculturated in this system for a long time, not knowing that he's a Time Lord.
See, I think of it more like the wedding of River Song, when all of time was happening at once. So, like, Churchill's on the phone to, I can't remember who, but he was talking about a MP3 player or whatever, and
Yes.
he gets the Doctor in. The Doctor's the soothsayer, the Cassandra. So I kind of got that impression where they've been there for not very long, because why else can't Belinda not remember giving birth to Poppy?
Yeah, so it could have been 3 days, it could have been 3 years, it could have been 3 hours, but certainly they've done it a few times. If the Rani goes, I love this part.
I just took that to mean because she's doing the usual Doctor speech. Time Lord from the planet Gallifrey, constellation of Castabarus. That's what I took it to be like, oh, I love this part where I get to say this, as in kind of it's a bit fourth wall breaky, which Mrs. Flood does.
Your husband is an alien, and so are we. So maybe she loves going to cultures and being like, hey, I'm an alien and I run your shit now.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past her. That's very Time Lord.
Blowing the plebes' minds.
Like when the Doctor loves it when they come in and go, ooh. I love it. Like, it's bigger on the inside.
Oh, yeah.
So I kind of took it in the vein of that.
So it doesn't mean there's a time loop. So I'll throw that theory out.
Don't know, you could be right, though. Like, we don't know.
They set up this system. Did they tell Conrad the whole doubt thing? Or is he just sort of told that's a important thing that we're doing? Does he know that it's a trick to blow up the universe?
I don't think so. I don't think they'd give him that much credit. They're just using him to channel the god power of the God of Wishes. Like, they needed a lens to put it through that would, I guess, create the doubt system, because they want doubts. That's the other thing. It's in a world where everyone in the world is. So I wonder if it's Conrad thinks he's just being God, and he wants, that's why it's bad for them to have doubts. Whereas the Rani and Mrs. Flood are off being like, we want the doubts because they're going to rip apart the world.
Yeah. It's so bizarre that he says it's hard to think so much. Like the OG Conrad would just be all up his own butt and think he's the hottest shit in the world for doing all this. But he'd probably also be wanting more information and like trying to get more out of the Rani. I can't see him ever being satisfied.
Or the Rani's shown him something so messed up that he's afraid now that it finally got through to that guy.
God, what would that even be?
I mean, she did turn all of that very nice family into flowers and birds.
Yeah. She did do that.
Is she magic? How did she do that?
Once the Doctor unleashed these supernatural forces by putting salt at the end of the universe, she got her hands on some magic tech. Maybe she killed some witches or went into an ancient vault and, like maybe she drained the blood of some ethereal beings, a billion years ago. But however she did it, she knows magic now.
Suppose all science is magic until it's not.
Well, I mean, that's the Osiren view, right? Like that they have, I don't know, nanotech or psychic powers or whatever that are indistinguishable from magic.
I mean, that is literally how I explained something to my friend's 5-year-old. But I was explaining something, like there was some like complex, and she wanted to know why or how, and I was just like, magic. But magic isn't real, and like, all science is magic until you understand the science.
Interesting.
I'm sure that like someone said that better than me in a much more eloquent quote. I've heard it somewhere.
I believe it's Arthur C. Clarke.
That checks out.
All technology is indistinguishable from magic. The phrase, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Famous quote attributed to science fiction writer Arthur C. Clarke, often referred to as Clarke's third law.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. So Conrad's in charge of the bullshit. Sometimes he has trouble in South Africa floods. That's a big flood.
He thinks about the weather and so he controls the world. Like maybe that's what's broken him down is he has to have the whole world basically inside his head. And because he said when he thinks about the weather too much or doesn't concentrate on the weather, South Africa floods.
Because it can't be nice everywhere. The climate is a turbulent system.
But they say it's nice everywhere at the very beginning when he's reading the weather. He's like, the weather in New Zealand, nice and lovely. The weather in Switzerland, nice and lovely. And he literally says all the weather is beautiful, which means he has some sort of control over that.
But I think subconsciously his brain would always know that in order for the Earth to function, its systems always have to be in chaotic interrelationship with one another, you know? That a climate can't just be stable.
It sounds like that's his goal, though. But they are in Magic Land.
I mean, clearly there is some pressure away from stasis if all it takes to cause a flood is for him to, lose his concentration. He must have fucked up and killed a ton of people, and that's what has made him gun shy.
Yeah. I think that'll do it. And he is a prisoner. He's clearly a prisoner. Because when Mrs. Flood, she's just like, oh, should I take him a sandwich? Oh, if you must, kind of thing. And she's like, oh, sorry, I haven't been by in ages. So he's taken from one prison to another. So the doctor's death thing is still coming true.
Yeah. He doesn't seem to have aged much, though. I think Doc said 49. Is that right?
Yeah, but it's a fixed point in that ship.
Yeah.
So maybe your time loop theory is correct. And he has been there that long, but it's kept him young because he's in the fixed point.
I mean, he's inside the TARDIS, so theoretically he could be outside of the flow of time.
Is he inside the TARDIS? I thought he was inside the...
The Bone Palace is the TARDIS, right?
Oh, no, that completely missed me, but that would make sense.
I mean, that's where Rani prefers to do her experiments.
So it's her TARDIS.
I think so.
Well, she doesn't have a TARDIS because that's why she needed the Vindicator. She must do that because Mrs. Flood went everywhere.
The Vindicator is to track where, I don't know, somehow amplifies signals to 10 billion supernovas or something.
So she can basically break the world apart and bring back Omega, the one who is lost?
Yeah, but I think she's had to have a TARDIS to go to all these different time periods to be there when the Doctor gets there.
Surely she'd have to.
So I just assumed that the center of the Bone Palace is her TARDIS. Especially with that threshold thing. And the seal of Rassilon is inside it. It just feels very TARDIS-y to me.
Yeah, it would make them keep them safe. For when the world splits apart from the Doctor's doubts.
Yeah.
I mentioned it before, but the Conrad J.K. Rowling thing, very real. Because even the cover of the books is the same as the original run of Harry Potter books.
The books on his bookshelf?
The books he's written, Doctor Who and the blah, blah, blah adventure. Oh. That's the exact same cover as Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
Holy shit.
It's so the very first run of Harry Potter books were all in that were almost identical to that. They just each had a different color.
Wow. Well, we could say that when people of his ilk get the level of power they're looking for, they often just sort of don't know what to do with it and lose steam and cast around for other people to tell them what to do. So there's an interesting parallel there. And his life, what is it? It's nothing. He's got no social life. He's got no friends or family, pets. All he's got is this weird baby.
Yeah, there's a couple of weird babies in this. Now you mention it. No, he hasn't got. Yeah, there's not much. I don't think he's particularly any better off than he was in the unit prison.
Yeah.
He deserves everything he gets.
Was that a union prison or a unit prison? I just assumed it was a regular, like, UK prison.
I interpreted it as like special unit prison, like where they were keeping the Shriek.
But he's just some guy. He didn't have any superpowers or anything. That's why it was so easy for Flood to get him out.
That's true.
Well, let's talk about Flood, the Rani, the whole deal. Starts out in 1865 in Bavaria. I like the set. I like the costumes. I like the makeup.
She's stunning. She's so beautiful.
So lovely.
It was very like Once Upon a Time, fairy tale. Because that'd be about when were the Grimm's fairy tales written? Because it gave me a very Brothers Grimm kind of.
Ooh, I thought they were much older. Let me. Grimm's Fairy Tales. 1815. 1812 was the first edition.
All right, so a little bit. So it would have been right when I guess they were popular. 40. So that's 50 years after them.
Yeah, they probably invented trains, but in the interim. But they weren't like a unified Germany.
No.
Out in the country.
Were they Ottomans at that point? Yeah, Bavaria is very different from northern Germany, that's true. I have a little fun fact. You know how she wants to rename the baby?
Uh-huh.
Sturm und Drang.
Sound and Fury.
Storm and Stress. So it was a literary and artistic art movement valuing emotional intensity, individualism, rejection of the Enlightenment's rational nature, moving into and kind of led to the Romantic era, which I found interesting.
Wow. Okay.
So there's some storytelling stuff in there.
Maybe they flirted with magic, at least in this universe. If they're anti-intellectual.
Yeah, well, it was very. I just thought it was a random. I mean, it could have just been something, fun phrase that Russell wanted to throw in, or I know before I looked it up, I did laugh. I was like, is it like Stormageddon? In the lodger. Not in the lodger, the closing time.
Yeah, Cybermen.
Yeah. Yeah, he wins with love. Yes, we talked about the Rani being magic.
Mm-hmm. She magics the family into animals and flowers.
Flowers and birds. Was there a reason? Like, were the flowers and the birds significant? Like, why a duck? I get the woman's name was Violet, and so she turned her into Violets, and she called the husband Wise, and that's why he's an owl.
I think it's to show us that she's doing magic, that magic is about using words to summon concepts into being, that this isn't technological at all.
Like the Shakespeare Code.
Yeah, typically magic is sort of described as like you're sympathetic, you're uniting like words and archetypes and things. So yeah, dad into an owl makes sense. I thought it was wild that the husband was so passive, but then she also was holding his baby. So it's kind of like you can't really manhandle somebody that's holding your baby.
See, the mum, though, she was like, "You're not taking my baby." So maybe she just is the dominant personality in that particular marriage.
Could be.
Because she was, for a woman who's just given birth, she's like, "No, it's not your baby."
Her last line she says is "hoot hoot," and dips on out of there.
Now, do we think that Mrs. Flood will turn on the Rani?
Well, I mean, the way they've set it up, yeah. But will they let Mrs. Flood actually help or just sort of impotently get slaughtered? Like, will she team up with the heroes or just sort of like own herself?
Because she definitely complains about mistreatment by the Rani.
I mean, she has her on sandwich duty, for Christ's sake. I'm shocked by the Rani's willingness to go to absurd lengths for very small tasks. Like, she'll look after Cherry Sunday one day. Here she will fly her little Serpentor scooter off to Egypt or whatever to get meat.
None shall stand against me, neither within Cobra nor without, for I am Serpentor, and I must rule. This I command!
It's almost thoughtful. It's like, oh, well, my prisoner will enjoy this. And I'll get to see the sights or something.
And she was living next to Ruby as well, like bringing...
Yeah, she really likes to get her hands dirty. But I gotta say, it's unusual for a scientist to fuck around quite as much. Usually they spend most of their attention in the lab or on whatever they're studying and not traveling the world looking for absurd gifts. You'd call that an absurd gift, right? You could just get ham down the street.
Yeah, it was like special gammon. I forgot about that though. It wasn't just a regular old sandwich. It was a very special sandwich.
Is it because it's a special day?
Yeah, it was weird that they were calling it May Day, because May Day is usually May 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas they specifically referred to May Day as May 24th. But that's just convenient, I think, for the airing dates. And they've been building stuff around the exact sequence of when it's going to air. Like having Eurovision, the Interstellar Song Contest the same weekend as the Eurovision final.
There's this moment I wanted to soundbite when Flood goes in to give him the sandwich and talk to him, and he hugs her. She gives him some positive feedback.
That's why we found you and saved you. And that's why the mistress chose you. The boy who wants the world to be better. A wish from the heart.
She could have chosen any sort of person with big ideas to run this shit. Why'd she choose this asshole?
Is he the person that's going to like push for doubts in the Doctor, create doubts in the Doctor. Like, is that type of world the kind of world that would make alarm bells go off for the Doctor? I'm spitballing here. I don't know if I actually think this.
Right. If she chose like a Greenpeace type, it might have compassion and joy and supportiveness in the system, whereas his is fascistic and unpleasant.
Yeah, it could actually be, to break him down. Like, if you're going to put someone in that position, she potentially knew it was going to mess with them. Because now I'm really onto this, like, he does seem, I like your theory of, your observation that is much more subdued.
Does Conrad still have his memories of the Doctor? Is this like personal for him? Or does he even pay attention to John Smith day to day?
There were moments where it did seem like he was narrating what was happening. The Doctor went to go find some new friend, or,
But that he remembered them as Conrad.
Don't know. Because Ruby remembers, and Ruby sees what's weird.
No, I think from his lofty sight, he might not even. Well, I guess because the Doctor isn't really the Doctor right now, they wouldn't even need to tell Conrad that he's alive and around.
Yeah, I think if he's got all of the world inside his head, he wouldn't be able to focus on, minutiae, especially if the Doctor wasn't being doctory.
Yeah.
Because they keep referring to him as God, right? Like, both Shirley and Ruby refer to him as God.
Yeah. Well, Rani and Flood set up the bombs outside on the balcony.
Well, you're my child in a manner of speaking. It could be said that you sprang from my loins.
That's the most disgusting thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, bi-generation. There's a lot of implications to bi-generation. There's a reason, other than Russell's only just thought of it. There's an in-world reason why we haven't seen it before, and then we've seen it again so quickly after hearing that it's rare. We potentially could get the 14th still this week.
Oh, shit.
Because if the Rani's got their bi-generation running around with them, the Doctor has an ally, right?
Maybe he comes like running to the rescue at some point, and he and the Doctor like work something out. Because I can't imagine they'd give him too much screen time, because Shooty's, this would be his last episode, right?
We don't know. If it ends here, and if it is all a dream, because are they going on hiatus? Did I hear that correctly? I know the BBC said they will continue to make it, but we're just not getting any next year. Is that right? Or
Disney has the option, depending on how well this season goes, they may decide that it's prestigious enough to keep, even though it's not pulling in enough viewers. They might just decide the quality was so high that we should keep it. I'm sure there's other things like that than just the ratings. It's the demographics, it's all kinds of stuff. But I think they have the option
streaming
to make another
numbers.
season.
All the articles I've been reading are all live viewing numbers. No one seems to have the actual details of how much it's being watched on streaming.
Interesting.
Obviously Disney has that information.
Yeah.
But, for all the Doctor Who isn't coming back next year dramaticism we've seen online, people all seem to be quoting the live viewing numbers in the UK, which, yes, would have previously been what the hill the show could die on or not was. But we're not talking, now it's gone on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've already been fans for years and we're international to the UK, so I don't like not knowing. I want to know, and I want to know that there will be Doctor Who.
Yes.
I know the BBC said they'll keep making it regardless because it's still one of the most popular shows over there.
It would just be so weird for Disney to see a season go this well and be like, nah, that 2's good enough. I'd just be like, I want to stack these seasons up so people don't stop watching Disney Plus, Especially if they could somehow finagle the license to the earlier episodes from Max or the BBC, however, whenever that contract is up.
Yeah, well, if they could get that. I thought the whole lot was going over to Disney. I didn't realize I'd still have all the other seasons available on the other streaming services they're on. Because they're everywhere. Certainly the new Who.
If that was how it was, this wouldn't even be a conversation. Disney would just say, do it every year, because they know that all those fans are going to be like, what's going on that I could watch? I'm already here, right? I don't know.
Back to the episode. We've gone down the production.
Yes. The Rani, she's got the Vindicator. She's doing that shit. They set up the bombs. What else is Rani up to? The Rogue, at one point, Rogue talks to the Doctor through a TV screen, and my thought was, is he working for the Rani? Because he's playing right into her hands, whether he's truly trapped in a hell dimension or not.
Well, I did have a theory that, it's a question more than a theory. So I guess I should kick off my favorite theory about what I think is going to happen next week. It's a good time. I'm adamant the Master's coming back. I can't shake this idea, and I've got reasons. So the gold tooth is picked up by someone with red fingernails at the end of the giggle, and the Master is supposedly trapped inside the gold tooth. 2, there is a moment when the Doctor realizes why the cups are going through the tables. You hear dun 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 in the music, and I first thought that was just Murray Gold being dramatic. But I was watching it with my friend, and hi Tony, I know you listen. We had to rewind it so that we had to stop the episode and rewind it because I just thought it was Murray Gold being dramatic, and then I'm like, it's a hint that there's the Master's coming back. So what if Rogue is the Master?
No. Oh my God.
There's always been a bit of a vibe between the Doctor and the Master,
Oh shit.
They care a bit more than they should for each other.
Well, in this case, he's playing right into the Rani's hands. Would the Master do that without getting something in return?
If it got the Doctor's attention, probably. The Master is always kind of doing stuff to be like, hi, Doctor, over here. Hi.
Maybe he thinks he could control Omega, even though nobody else ever could.
I'm going to be very excited if the Master is back in Missy form, maybe. I mean, I'm believing all kinds of things. That picture of Michelle Gomez and Jinx Monsoon.
They need
set
to
me
be
off.
in this episode.
The Doctor's going to confront the Pantheon, right? If the most powerful god of them all is the god of wishes, It makes sense to have the other gods who have turned up kind of make an appearance as well in some way. Like Lux could come back and save the day because the doctor set him free.
I like that. Okay, so the Master meets Omega and Rani at the entry to the antimatter universe or whatever, right? They've got him.
Mm-hmm.
He's about to step out, and the Pantheon are there. He's like slaughtered all of them. It's like he's eaten all their power, and they're just corpses now. And then fucking Lux shows up and helps defeat them all.
I love it.
Because you can't have all those gods unleashing godlike power, right? Because the Time Lords would just be wiped out. It's got the Omega has to take care of them.
I mean, if anybody could.
God, there's just not enough show to fit all these characters in.
The seal of Rassilon being there was there for a reason. Isn't Rassilon supposed to be Omega's cousin or something?
Oh, I don't know.
I think he calls him cousin at one point, but it could just be that kind of that era. You know, you call anyone from like your hometown or your home planet cousin. I think we're just going to have a whole lot of Time Lords rocking around.
Yeah.
Gallifrey's coming back some way.
So Flood pretends to be a doctor. Apparently the Rani loves dressing up. In The Mark of the Rani, I just watched a bit of it, and she was dressed up as like a crooked old lady. And
she's dressed up as Mel, right, too?
Yes, that was in the time of the Rani, but yeah, totally. So Flood is a cop, and she's having Belinda taken out of her house. She says, "You recognized your husband's doubt."
You recognized your husband's doubt because you've been expressing doubt yourself. That's what it does, Mrs. Smith. It contaminates, it breeds, it festers, and it's my job to cut it out. My job and my very great pleasure.
She gets this big old smile on her face.
She's wonderful, Anita Dobson.
She is fantastic.
She's just so much more fun. Like, Susan Twist is good too, and I was glad to see her turn up as the coffee lady.
Yeah, that was fun.
Because she's still rocking around unit since they removed the Sutek out of her.
Indeed.
But I just think Anita Dobson's so much more animated in her face. Like, she kind of like gives me like Jim Carrey, like face animation energy.
Hell yeah. Next thing with the Rani, she talks to the doctor. She's trying to open up his memories by bringing all this stuff to his attention. And then she says his child isn't real.
But then when the doctor's falling off the building, at the end, he says she is real.
Right.
He's gotten his memories back at that point. The last thing we hear from the doctor is Poppy is real.
But she should know. Right? She should know which characters are NPCs and which are real people. Surely. Poppy
is Susan, and she's snuck in to try and help, or she's like an avatar for Susan or something.
Shit. Susan or Romana pretending with some kind of perception filter, pretending to be the doctor's baby. Amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. But that would mean we'd have another TARDIS in play, or at least a vortex manipulator, for her to get from the future to the past.
Well, it was the second TARDIS. I mean, Maisie Williams and Clara are rocking around in their diner TARDIS. That's it. They racked off with a TARDIS.
Yeah. So if Susan Poppy has wormed her way into this Belinda and John Smith situation, how did the Rani not notice? Like, you would have thought she would have stuck John Smith in this weird situation and picked the child.
She just thought she was an avatar. Like, she just thought it was part of the illusion that of course, they're, in a 50s vibe, married couple. Of course they got a kid. Like, I could see the Rani just thinking she's part of the world that Conrad's created, where the gay doctor is married to a woman and they have a baby.
Fascinating.
But really, it's like Susan or Romana has snuck into this entity and is there to try and help. Well, because Poppy was the one that first had doubts. The very first time we see the messaging, I'm selling myself on this now. The first time we see the messaging about the doubts, the first time a cup falls through a table, it was Poppy's doubt. Because the doctor says, "Oh, Poppy, you shouldn't doubt, blah, blah, blah."
Oh, I love this.
Every time they ask her something, they're like, "Poppy, what about this?" And she's like, "No." And just tucks an absolute tantrum. So I wonder if she's there trying to steer the doctor.
In a meta way, children often see that a system is fucked up and they get upset. Like, they can see through bullshit a little better. Now, do we think that Conrad said these two are going to have a kid? Or did Sunapi or Romapi like slide in there, just stand on the porch one day and be like, "I'm your daughter"?
I think they woke up already married, and they woke up like they kind of just went pop and they're in this world and they're living this life. Like, I don't think the doctor and Belinda were rocking around living their own lives in Conrad's world, and then they met and then they decided to have a baby and get married and all of that. Because Belinda doesn't remember giving birth. Neither does her mother.
Fascinating.
And the Rani did, send for Belinda's mum, Mrs. Flood, sent for Belinda's mum to come look after the baby while they arrested Belinda. So if they just thought, "Oh, it's a baby, it's a part of this made-up world," she's at least going, "Oh, well, we'll send someone to look after the 1-year-old who's asleep in the house," or whatever.
Now, did the Rani engineer Ruby going to his house?
No. Ruby, because
it served her purposes, right? That's what I'm thinking about it. Because her questioning of him got him to start doubting. She was the catalyst. I wouldn't be surprised if either Conrad or the Rani tricked her, or Mrs. Flood tricked her into doing it.
I think she just went there, and I think it's because of 73 Yards. Because she's lived through... She mentions it. She's like, "I've lived through this time before. It was different." She says that. And we get all these flashes of her at the window on her birthday staring at the... So this is another completely separate theory I have. So is this all because of the fairy ring? Is that when reality got skewed? So they snap through the fairy ring, creates this parallel world where Ruby has to live through all these years to kind of steer Roger Ap William away from that, and she thinks she has to do that for those reasons. Because we also see her mum doubting her, Cherry Sunday doubting her, and when she starts to doubt, they're like, "Oh, no, you can't do that." And I was very much reminded of when her mum would not let her into the house in 73 Yards. So I wonder if something ties in there with Mad Jack, Roger Ap William, and yeah, I just think that there could be something relating to 73 yards, and that is why Ruby is aware of it. But isn't one of the disabled people. The disabled people, because they're nothing in Conrad's world, he doesn't think about them. So they're able to kind of see the world a bit from the outside because they're not in it. They say that. Ruby is not in it because she's gone through this other time loop scenario.
Interesting.
There are too many theories.
Most of the rest of the Rani stuff is exposition and just sort of villainy, so we can switch characters to... Oh, she dances with the doctor at one point. That was fun.
And they talked about the siege of Persephone.
People said we were lovers. Can you remember if that's true? Far away in time and space, were we?
The internet is mixed on this. There's nothing in the books or comics or anything that proves that they hooked up, just that they knew each other.
Yeah, well, they all went to school together, the three of them, right? They all went to the academy together, the master, the Rani, and the doctor.
Yeah.
Whereas Omega and Rassilon were more like older in a graduating class.
All right, let's go. Since we brought up Ruby, let's talk Ruby's
One more
arc
Rani
here.
thing. One more thing on the Rani. There is a point when Conrad is narrating, where he's reading from the Doctor Who books, where he says, the Time Lady knew they could be great friends. So when he's talking about the Doctor. So there's a lot of these notes about the Rani not viewing the Doctor as an enemy, more as an impediment.
Huh.
It'd be interesting to sit down and actually just read just Conrad's voiceover lines from those bits, because I feel like there's a lot of hints in there.
Oh, most definitely. Absolutely. So that's Rani. What about Ruby? We mentioned her. What did you think of her story? She gets together with the disabled community. One of the notes I took was something to the effect of, even if you're not disabled, you can learn about what people are going through and stick up for them and empathize with them. But you have to like look outside of your frame of reference and to, empathize with
Much
people.
like Ruby did in 73 Yards when she was 73 yards away from herself, signing to herself.
Indeed. Oh, here it is. In many ways, this is like the process of gaining empathy with the marginalized, whether you face direct prejudice or not. So when I see this kind of stuff, I think about when I was in middle school and people were clowning on a very special girl, and I didn't stick up for her. Whereas there are stories like where I did stick up for somebody and then I was ostracized. It's just, it was a process. Eventually you get over being ostracized and just stick up for people. But there's a great book by Jodi Blanco called Please Stop Laughing at Me. And she describes this process of going immediately from the in group to the out group purely because she stuck up for somebody with special needs. And it was all over for her for the rest of her school life.
Being othered in any way, like someone sticking up. So I was always the person being picked on, so didn't really had the opportunity to pick on to kind of defend anyone else. And usually if someone else was getting picked on, I was just grateful it wasn't I was having a break.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a big part of it.
But it's made me very justice focused and want to stick up for. As an adult, it certainly fired me up. I've reached that point of like, no, I'll stand up against injustice and unfairness wherever possible.
I noticed that Ruby instinctively recoils from Shirley. They give us that beat of like, oh, really? Is Ruby that shitty in this reality? And it's like, no, she realizes there's something about this woman I remember, which means now she's a human being. I can actually interact with her regardless of what society wants me to do in this moment. Oh, the bone beast's hoof came down, and you'd think it would have squished everyone, but instead it's like gelatin see-through. And Ruby says it's like, or no, Shirley says it's like they're there and not there. And I'm thinking it must be intended to sow doubt. Because a part of people's brains would be like, well, animals' feet crush the things they step on. This doesn't make sense. Plus, also, it has no skin or muscles.
The bone dinosaurs were just weird. I didn't no. We'd better get some
I think
sort
they're
of...
just there to make it weird, to like encourage doubt. Because I mean, like, imagine not being able to go, hey guys, do you see that? That was crazy.
But if they don't remember a world different from that and they've always been there, it's like the Zeppelins in the sky and that in the Weddings of River song where all time is happening at once.
I believe the character's name is Val, the girl that is doing signs for somebody else in the group of the disabled people. And she thinks that they're suspended in time.
Which is kind of how I've been interpreting it a bit as well, is like that whole, this isn't happening in real time, like and they don't have a memory of what real time passing is even like. Because they're in weird Conrad brain world.
Ruby says that she doesn't trust Conrad, that he's a monster, and they all get excited. She says everything that's wrong revolves around Conrad. And Shirley says he's not disabled, so he literally can't see us. And if he can't see us, then we don't get seen. Ruby says, how did Conrad become god of the earth?
And Shirley, we're going to war on God.
Yeah, we don't just sit here all day complaining. We got plans. We're going to bring down God. You with us? That was pretty moving. I think that was my favorite, or not favorite, but like most impactful moment of the show. On a second watch, I think it was when Belinda runs out into the woods and screams. It hit a lot more having seen the episode.
Yeah, I'd completely forgotten she did that until I watched it again today, and I was like, huh. Yeah, that one really sticks out more once you've digested everything else that's happened, because you're kind of spinning with the Doctor and Belinda are married, there's some sort of fascism going on, there's weird bone dinosaurs, the Rani's magic. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. So yeah. Belinda running into the woods and screaming just didn't register with me, I think, those first couple of watches. But I could have just been distracted for a second.
It puts me in mind of women who, for whatever reason, postpartum depression, or they get a delusion that something's wrong with their kids, or their kids aren't their kids, or they're hunted by demons or whatever. Like, so she's having this profound, intense emotional reaction to not really understanding her child. I don't know. From that perspective, it seemed a lot more relatable. Like, if you can't remember how your kid came to you, it would cause a lot of doubt. And you're not allowed to express it.
Yeah, and her mum doesn't remember. Like, that was a real moment. And Poppy seems all chill with it. This is why I think she's a Susan.
Yeah. So Ruby, Shirley, and Val hide from some cops, and then they just happen to be right below the Bone Palace. And so we learn that Conrad's up there, and I don't know, this is their role in the rest of the episode, just to kind of hang out and wait for something to happen.
But they have an iPad. So this is a world without that kind of tech.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what it is, though.
It's a relic from our timeline.
Like, it's got power. We don't know what it is. It said fossils or relics, which then made me go, that's the closest I've come to figuring out logic for the bone dinosaurs. Because maybe they're dropping this kind of stuff, like their representative. I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that theory.
Were the bone monsters had weird faces too. They weren't quite boars. They weren't rhinos. They were like something in that zone, but I don't think they were even dinosaur heads. There's something more alien.
If an ood had a skull.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure they do, but I was like, if it's an ood skull, put it on a dinosaur body.
So the only other thing Ruby does is look on in horror as the world is falling apart.
Did you think something was landing on them?
Yeah, it looked like the awning of the building they were hiding under was coming down on them. Or maybe it was the dinosaur foot. Yeah, it was one of those.
I did think of you when the unit building got sucked into the... I was like, I know how you feel about the unit building.
Finally, get rid of that thing.
I think I even put it in my notes. Okay. Jeff will be happy at the destruction of the unit tower is in my notes.
Hell yeah. Get it out of here. So that's Ruby. So I think all that's left for us to discuss is the Doc and Belinda.
Well, there's one more. We haven't seen them, but we do need to talk about Omega.
We do, yes, you're
Because
right.
I have one more major theory, and the more I read about Omega today, the more it fed into my theory that Omega is Tecteun. Because the Omega is credited with basically doing the science to teach Time Lords how to time travel. And considering, like, basically one of the, like, it's not founder, but, like, the kind of made Time Lords what they are. And Tecteun did that with the Timeless Child. There even was a thing about using Omega using the Doctor's DNA. So
I wonder if that happened in
it
Arc
would
of
make
Destiny.
sense to me.
Oh, yeah, because he put on Peter Davison's body as he thought he could keep it as a shell to let him enter our reality, and it didn't work. Or it didn't survive.
So it would fit Tecteun.
Yeah, but she seemed so involved in regular workings of multiple universes, whereas Omega was, his biggest complaint was that he was cut off from everything and everyone.
Well, in my notes, I have 2 pages apart. I've got on one note, is Tecteun the Rani? And then Omega, creator of the Time Lords. Is that Tecteun? So I feel like, because Russell did reference that he was going to honor the Chibnall era as canon and reference particularly the Timeless Child story. Well in advance of Church at Ruby Road, he said this. Would have been when he's writing it. So I wonder...
So if he's resolving the Shooty arc for these 2 seasons, he would have to learn something about his parentage. It feels like that's what we've been working towards, is that he'd someday find out why he was abandoned.
Which would fit if Poppy is the timeless child. Or at least an avatar of it. Like the actual child that Tecteun found at the base of the thingy.
God, if Tecteun arrived at the Omega Rift with like an army of division badasses, and it's just like the end of Endgame. It's like Time Lords licking off shots, Dalek, Cybermen, the whole toy box.
I'll put nothing past Russell.
Oh shit. Yeah, because Tecteun can throw a lot of shit at a problem. But technically she's dead, right? She got blowed up.
Well, no, they went through to another universe. She was trying to take the doc, like, kind of trying to go through to another universe and leaving the Doctor behind with the flux, because there's been many fluxes. They keep going from universe to universe, I thought.
Yeah.
When Tecteun was there with a hat. So apparently I did think about the Bone Palace as a TARDIS, because it's in my like OG notes that I was writing from the, when I was first impressions.
Nice.
Is this the Rani's TARDIS?
God.
We've forgotten someone as well. There is one more character before we get to the Doctor and Belinda that you've completely overlooked, and she would be very put out.
Oh, Kate.
Mel. Oh, Mel.
Hell yes. I love Mel so much.
Because Kate's in there for like a minute as the boss of the, insurance, whereas Mel pops up a few times.
Oh, yeah.
Being all sad in the beginning, I'm single and I don't have any children, so I'm just going to sit there and watch. Which is what, totally what Conrad would expect a single woman of her age to have, like, she hasn't had children, so she's got no fulfillment in life.
Yeah, be quiet, stay out of the way, don't bother anyone.
I'm like, whereas really she's Mad Auntie Mel. I am Mad Auntie Mel. I'm the Mad Auntie.
Nice. Yeah, I think the only other thing Mel does really is rush out to see the purple fireworks. I'm not sure if anything is crushing her. She's out in the suburbs.
I mean, I'll be disappointed if we don't have a confrontation with the Mel and the Mel and the Rani.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Why else would you be bringing Mel back?
Maybe they both land in the quarry and roll around and have a cat fight.
Which Rani, though? I kind of like it as Mrs. Flood.
Yes, Mel and Mrs. Flood, hair pulling, eye gouging.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Sign me up. And the Rani steps out of the TARDIS and says, "Girls, behave yourselves."
Yeah. Show some dignity, why don't you?
So the Doc and Belinda waking up in bed, it reminded me of like a lavender marriage. Like there's a couple in For All Mankind that he's gay, she's a lesbian, and they have a marriage of convenience, but like it's very awkward because they can't do social stuff other families are doing because they can't let people find out their secrets. We see our first coffee mug go through a table. Their coffee mugs are so boring. Like they're pretty, but no logos or words.
Well, they broke that frequently because when the Doctor goes to get a fresh cup, or Belinda goes to get a fresh cup, they've got like 100 of those same mugs.
Yeah, it's like it's just expected. The doubt will happen. And you ignore it. I'm thinking maybe time doesn't pass with respect to food and bodily functions because there's no other recycling bin or garbage bin. It's just the slip bin. But maybe it's slip bin day and not garbage day. I don't know.
Yeah, but Comrade's the kind of guy that thinks recycling would be woke.
That's fine.
I could absolutely see him being a climate change denier.
Maybe every house has its own incinerator for garbage.
I mean, that's the way it used to be. I remember growing up having an incinerator.
Oh, fascinating. So there's that scene with Ruby. Belinda is really upset. John Smith is like, what? Our baby's not fake. What are you talking about? Ruby ran into Mel. Yep, we did that. So the doc passes Shirley, who's begging outside unit. He just blows right past her. The doctor says Ibrahim is beautiful, and a beautiful man, and Ibrahim gets all hostile. Another mug drops. At home, Belle's mom and their friend Davika come over for lunch.
To Auntie, right?
Yeah, Auntie.
She calls her Auntie.
She says the like bullshit about women's roles. Good little girl, then good little wife, then good little mother. That's when Belle does her whole screaming fit. The doc betrays wonder at the Rani. He's like, who is she? And everybody's like, what the hell?
Oh, she's fully the Wicked Witch of the West. That was my moment when she's flying around on her thing. I'm like, it was very Surrender Dorothy.
It's the witch! She's followed us here!
Surrender, Dorothy.
Oh, hell yes. I love that. Oh, man, what if she'd had a sea of monkeys? Thousands of flying monkeys.
That would be cool.
Oh, shit. Oh, we never mentioned that the terrifying baby does the giggle.
Oh, yeah, I have it in my notes, so I forgot to... Yeah, it's... Yeah, so the baby is Desiderium, which is a feeling of loss or grief for something lost. And that's the name of the baby. Well, that's the name of the god that Rani says the baby is.
So maybe that's the feeling that a god of wishes could counteract by giving you your heart's desire. It's sort of like the push-pull.
So I think it ties into Tyche, which is an ancient Greek god, which is the only thing I could find when I Googled God of Wishes that wasn't Doctor Who related, which is the personification of the hidden dreams and wishes of mortals.
Interesting.
That may or may not tie in, but it's... Apparently I just researched gods for this podcast now. So.
Hell yeah. Gotta do it.
I mean, I'm not mad at it.
So apparently the doc's been having some doubts at 30%, but the rate is steadily increasing. Should be done by sunset. All that Ruby and Shirley stuff. Oh, the doctor sees Rogue. And that's what pushes him over the edge to his, like, breaking cups business. Belinda comes in. She's worried about him. He tries to get her to see, and she doesn't get it. And this made me think of the Macra Terror, in which the people are not allowed to question the system, and it's personified by there is no Macra Terror, there is no Macra. Don't talk about the Macra. So that was kind of how that system was perpetuated. That's when Belinda calls the pigs. They take the doctor away. And Mrs. Flood brings Belinda's mom.
In this. She dobs twice. She calls them on Ruby too.
Jesus. Yeah. They turn us against each other. They make us collaborators in our own homes. So they drag Belinda away as well as the doctor.
Yeah, still brings Belinda's mum over to babysit Poppy, though.
So, what a weird choice. Like, they could just let their fake baby starve to death. Like, why do they care? It's a fake world that's going to be destroyed in a couple hours anyway.
Unless it's a way we can build some sympathy for Mrs. Flood. For her face turn next week.
So that was her good deed for the day, was calling Grandma.
Just showing her to be not entirely evil.
Interesting. But doesn't it suggest that there'll be some kind of life after this reality collapse for the real people? Like, for Flood to even bother, there must be a future for these folks, right?
Yeah. But we know there's not. That's the whole season's been telling us that. Graham Norton told us it specifically last week. Even when we thought we'd had the big reveal, she's still keeping us guessing.
Yeah. So Belinda and Doc are brought to the Bone Palace and into what I believe is the Rani's TARDIS. They cross this force field threshold type thing. The Rani tries to access or get the Doctor to open up about his memories. She says his kid isn't real. And then she dances with him, says that line about being lovers, maybe. And then reveals that Flood regenerated into the Rani. Belinda is totally confused. She says, I love saying this bit. Your husband is an alien and so are we. I think Flood is the chink in the armor. Either somebody's gotten to Flood or she's more humane than Rani Prime.
I think that's definitely what we're like. She's got sandwich.
There's this fun moment.
All of those things.
Oh.
Sorry, a fun moment?
Oh, there's a fun moment where the Rani is gloating or whatever, and then she turns and lifts both hands up like Lego hands or whatever, like fixed, and points up at the sky for her cool like PowerPoint visual of the supernova, I don't know what, like all the time streams converging around a planet. And she says, there, he's remembering. Talks about how doubt is a power great enough to amplify the wishes of a god. So Belinda admits that everyone has doubts. Rani complimented Belinda. Do you remember this moment? She literally complimented Belinda, which I found shocking as hell.
What did she say to her? Remind me.
I'm trying to get to the spot here. So she talks about the Vindicator. We go through a little montage. Great bit of tech. It crisscrossed the universe, creating a web of power to bring you back here. And that's when she points up at her cool Voiced Bladen energy to the power of 5, roughly the equivalent of 1 billion supernovas. So that's when Flood says there, he's remembering. So the Vindicator created a web of titanic power ready for me to use.
A web like the Nexus.
Ooh, yes. Like the Nexus. Doctor says you cannot wish a whole world into existence. And she says, exactly, it's full of mistakes and it cannot sustain itself because you have doubts. Doubts are not allowed. So what she did essentially is a big false flag attack. Belinda says everybody has doubts. Rani says she's very good. That's it. So because Belinda was able to see that it's cognitive dissonance, that the bad guy would want us to have doubts when you're the one in charge. God, Noam Chomsky has a word for it, but when you engineer your own opposition.
Belinda's been the one figuring all these things out all season.
Yeah. My little niggling thought was, oh God, what if the Rani knows that Belinda is her future incarnation in a chameleon arch? And that's why she complimented herself. She's like, oh, huh. Like she would only ever compliment herself, is my thought. But that seems a little Byzantine at this point for Belinda to be the Rani.
That's entirely feasible. Because, this ties back to that theory that I texted you about on, that was mentioned on one of the comments, and I want to credit who it was properly. But it was certainly one of Adam's listeners in the Facebook group who said, after the robot revolution, like referencing that Rani means queen, and that could Belinda be being Queen of Earth? Yeah, is she the Rani in a chameleon arch?
So is this a red herring or sign of something that's going to be a real thing? If it turns out to be a real thing, this moment will be significant of her complimenting essentially herself. The whole palace is shaking because of Doc's doubt. She says this isn't just exposition. She needed his doubt to be all-consuming. She drags him to the balcony to see the city collapse. The Doc says that's not real. She says by destroying this world, she can see into the underverse to find the original badass. Doc asks who. Rani says it's Omega. And then we hear this voiceover. I think it's from one or more episodes, maybe even a Big Finish.
Long live Omega. Omega shall be free.
But it says,
It's
long
a Big
live
Finish,
Omega.
yeah.
There's a really great early Big Finish release about Omega, just called Omega. There's one about the Master called Master, one about Davros. They're pretty good. So finally, the Doctor remembers everything. He says, the Doctor is me. And the Rani, and he looks around, and the Rani has locked him out on the balcony. He's worried about Belinda, afraid that she'll die. And
She disappears.
She disappears.
When they push her back through the blue thing, she fades into nothing. So I wonder if could that be the Doctor's TARDIS picking her up, maybe? Because it's not the same way anyone else seemed. Like, no one else is just vanishing.
Yeah, she should have just been on the other side of the invisible force field.
Or it fell off the edge like the Doctor or something like that, but she disappears.
That's interesting. So she says, nice of you to join us, Doctor, but I remember you too, and I know that you'll try everything to stop me, so I can't take that risk. She blows off the balcony. Belinda's tossed out of what I think of the TARDIS. Down below, all the people are dying or going somewhere else. It's unclear. And Rani and Mrs. Flood clink glasses. And the Doctor screams, Poppy is real. Don't you know what that means? And I am completely flummoxed. Credits.
I've got at least 10 theories. And I don't think they're all right. Like, we know how annoyed I get when I'm right with a theory. I don't know which is my favorite. I like the idea of it tying into the Timeless Child because we got the Joe Martin Doctor, the Ruth Doctor, the Fugitive Doctor, whatever you want to call her, in the story in the engine. And it's a waste if we don't get more of her. Now, my favorite theory out of all my theories is that the Master's coming and that it's hopefully going to be Missy.
Oh, God. That would be amazing. I want an epic adventure style beatdown at the merging of antimatter and matter universe. Also, I'm having a theory explosion. Jenny, the doctor's daughter, is still out there. She could have survived the death particle because technically her DNA is from the doctor, who's a timeless child and not a Gallifreyan. She could be in disguise as Poppy. What better way to hide than pretending to be the daughter of her actual dad? Bingo bango. Jenny returns next week.
And then she can be Susan's mom.
She can be Susan's mom. Oh, and 14's there. So if we got a flashback to Georgia Tennant and 14 hanging out, that could be fun.
See, it writes itself, really.
Indeed.
And which would also, so my Missy theory also works because out of all the masters, remember when she was taking lessons on how to be good from Capaldi?
Yes.
So maybe they helped. Maybe this time, because it's Missy, she'll turn up and team up. So maybe, so the Doctor, Missy, and Mrs. Flood team up to defeat the Rani and Omega. And maybe Rassilon, because the Seal of Rassilon, we haven't had that explained either.
Now, the problem with all these Time Lords and gods is that the companions can get a little bit lost. Do we have any clue what Ruby and Belinda's roles might be in this?
I'm becoming more convinced there's something supernatural with Belinda. I still think Ruby's just a normal, just a nothing, normal
Maybe
human.
it's going to be like Spider-Man or one of those superhero things where the superheroes are doing superhero shit and the companions are dealing with the domestic fallout. Protecting normal people from normal buildings crashing or, I don't know, guys with guns.
I mean, I feel like we're heading for some sort of reversing of the Thanos snap universe reset kind of. So I'm not worried about Belinda and Shirley having a building land on them. Belinda, Ruby and Shirley have a building land on them.
Man. I wouldn't mind a brief period of Belinda getting to be somebody else, like an evil villain for 10 minutes or whatever, just so the actor can flex a little bit.
True.
Because she clearly has the goods
Poppy could
to
be River
do all
Song.
kinds of stuff. Poppy could be River Song? That's weird.
I mean, why not?
Wife pretending to be her dad's daughter? That's a little kinky, Russell. Easy.
I love that you're telling him off for something I made up in my head.
Oh, my God. Who's in charge of this show? Stephen Moffat?
I mean, he would do that. He absolutely would do that. But there is one thing. I
can't wait. Oh, you got some more?
Yeah. When Conrad was doing his voiceover bits and he's talking about telling the stories of Doctor Who, he does say the secret came from the depth of Time Lord history. Now, that could just be being referring to Omega. But it could be, that's the first time I wrote is Tecteun the Rani. Because I think it could be referring to Tecteun and the Timeless Child. Maybe I'm just wishing real hard that this will lead into the Timeless Child and make that whole thing make a bit more sense.
So here's what we know about the Timeless Child. They're immortal. They regenerate into any form they like.
Mm-hmm.
And they can lose their memories. That's about all we know about them. but it could be the child of a god. We're dealing with all these gods. It could be the child of a god. Perhaps that's the oldest secret. Omega got freaky with the priestess of Karn or something. And here comes no, but Timeless Child existed before or after Omega was born. We don't really know.
It doesn't really.
She just showed up in our universe somewhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere Tecteon could find her. We've been calling her Tecteon this whole episode. Come on, folks. It's Tiki Tiki Tata.
Tiki Tiki Tata.
Obviously. I set up a shortcut on my phone so I can just put TT and it becomes Tiki Tiki Tata. I think I've said everything I've got. I don't know.
I'm flicking through everything. Will Mrs. Flood turn on the mistress? So Mrs. Flood is constantly referring to the Rani as the mistress. But I'm just trying to will my master theory into existence. The baby is referred to as terrifying. Mrs. Flood and Conrad refer to the baby as terrifying. That's when it does the giggle. Oh, the rogue with the doctor was very bad, Wolf Bay.
They really did not try very hard with the hell dimension. I mean, it was just a guy in front of a green screen talking. It wasn't very convincing.
Did you see the video of because the cast didn't know? It wasn't in the... so they didn't know that Jonathan Groff had filmed this, because he filmed this at the end of Rogue. And so there's actually footage of the table read and them all reacting to him popping up on the screen, because he's not in the script.
Oh, shit.
So you've got, Millie Gibson, Verada Setu, and Ncuti Gatwa all reacting to Jonathan Groff popping up, and it's quite cute. Russell looks very smug because he's reading all the stage direction.
Oh,
he's the only one that really knew. That was cool.
So he just didn't give them that page of dialogue? Well, the Ncuti would have had it at least. He was the only person in the scene.
They just had him as a mysterious man in the script.
Got it. That is tricksy. Well, anyway, I wish they had sexed up that hell dimension a little bit more. Because as it is, it just looks like a trick planned by the Rani. You know, I want the behind the scenes where Rogue walks off set and he takes off his lavalier mic and he's like, "Are we good here?" And he goes back to whatever he was doing.
That would be cool.
Except you thought he could be the master. But like a cheeky master.
That would explain the crappy, the crappy graphics on the hell dimension.
Yeah, sometimes the master doesn't work very hard. He kind of phones it in.
Very true.
He has a hell Instagram filter on his phone.
That is what it looked like. I'm pretty sure I've seen more impressive things come out of Snapchat.
They could have just ripped a few frames off of your pretty faces going to hell. They do all kinds of fire and demons and shit.
2 torches at once! Talk about multitasking!
They just really did not try very hard at all.
Even Disney money runs out eventually.
I guess so. Yeah, it's almost like they had him do that. They did that for the table read. That quick and dirty hell special effect, and they're like, We'll sweeten this up later, and they just never got around to it.
Probably. The guards from the Harmony Arena were the guards that are working for the Rani on the Bone Palace.
Yeah, it suggests they were a last-minute addition to the team. She went to the song contest, and she was like, "Oh, yeah, those'll do." Reusing costumes, That's a tried and true Doctor Who tradition.
Absolutely.
All right. We have squeezed every drop of blood from our theory stones, and it's just time to build anticipation for what is undoubtedly going to be the greatest season finale of all time. I don't think there's any doubt. Surely.
I don't know. I've just watched the final ever Handmaid's Tale episode, and it was pretty damn good.
Oh, shit. Well,
I actually
maybe
had that thought
Doctor
about
Who
that.
will top it.
I mean, if anything can, it'll be Doctor Who.
They didn't quite top it last season with Empire of Death.
Yeah, there was something hollow about that. But if we know Russell was writing a 2-season arc, then it was never meant to be a real finale as well. And if this was all a dream, why season 1 and season 2 and Doctor Who being on Disney? I think I've actually broken my brain with too many theories now.
Well, let's turn off our theory brains for the next few days. And when we come back, we will be talking about the reality war?
The reality war. Is that linked to the Time War in some way? Turns out I had room for one more.
You know what wars need? Armies. Right? We're talking Autons. We're talking Suntarans. We're talking Daleks. We're talking Cybermen. We're talking the Movellans. What other armies have we come across? The War Games.
And maybe all the Zygons living on Earth will rise up.
The Zygons living on Earth. Yes. There's the witches, the vampires, but they were never really army-like.
Let's see if there's anything in my book.
Yeah. If we're going reality war, like multiple realities converging, it could be like the War Games, with each Time Lord leading their own human army from different periods and histories.
Ooh, I like that.
Riding chariots with an Egyptian army. There's all kinds of like distinctive armies. Samurai. God, the Mongolians. Spartans. You got your medieval plate armor armies.
Modern armies.
Yeah, you could do unit.
Interesting.
Wow. Or we could go full on Time Lord war with them all coming back from some dimension where they weren't killed. And they're all driving their own TARDISes, and we get to see all that finally.
I think there's we've got a good chance of Gallifrey coming back.
Exciting. Got the Death Zone. So many possibilities. Well, folks, thank you for listening. Recommendations?
Finish The Handmaid's Tale. It's phenomenal.
Handmaid's
The final ever episode dropped last night, and I cried.
Good. It did its job.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I've gotten anything new. I just finished The Pirate Loop. It was pretty good. It's available on archive.org. It's a 10th Doctor and Martha. But now I'm reading Star Trek Deep Space Nine, A Stitch in Time. It's written by Andrew J. Robinson, who played Garak. And it's about Garak's time during the war. It's like a looking back retelling from after the war. It's pretty good so far. I'm 1% in. So we'll see how that goes.
Interesting.
All right. You can reach us at the Great and... Sorry?
Oh, no, that was
you can reach us at greatandsecretknowledge@gmail.com. You can find me on all the socials at El Jefe Tacoma. Jessie?
You can find me at Cosmic Cowgirl, Cosmic with a K.
Hell yeah.
All the things.
Hell yeah. You can also listen to my podcast, Shattered Worlds RPG. It's a space opera, actual play set in the world of my books, and Omniversal Escapades, where we play live role-playing games every other Sunday at 6:30 Pacific Standard Time, p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So check that out on twitch.tv/Omniversal Escapades, or the episodes are archived at youtube.com/Omniversal Escapades. Tell your friends about us, share us, and let us know what you'd like us to cover. Once we're done with this season of Doctor Who, we will start branching out into all sorts of interesting areas, as long as Jessie wants to continue working with me. Also, she's got ideas.
Absolutely.
Things are happening.
Yes.
We're cooking in the back here. This lab is overflowing with chemicals and steam, and we've got
Creative
masks. We've got an eye washing station. All kinds of stuff happening.
But yeah, notes, thoughts, and all sorts going on.
Yes. Until we reconvene, listener, thank you and good night.
Bye.
A huge thanks to James Lark of jameslark.co.uk for providing our wonderful theme song. Thank you, James. Okay. All right. Got to get hyped
We're
up.
waking up in a parallel universe, you know. Actually, it's a bit weird because it is kind of like a parallel universe because we're recording at different time than we usually do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We're time shifted 3 or 4 days into the future. But the way our time travel machine works is that all the knowledge we would have gained over that time is taken out of our brains. So we might as well never have left this time period. What I'm saying is, listener, we'll be just as simple and confused as always. Us doing it earlier won't help.
How can you not be confused at this point? We're halfway between a two-parter, and and for once we haven't watched the next episode while we're recording.
I think what we should do for this is, because there were so many quick cuts, we should probably pick timelines or stories. A story, B story, or like characters, rather than a straight up chronology.
I mean, I'm cool with whatever. I tend to jump all over the place anyway. You're the one usually watching the episode when we record.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I'm always coming up with stuff about 10 minutes before it happens for you. It's a lot to get your head around in this one.
It sure
Especially because
is.
we've had no answers.
I get agitated. I want to know. I'm like the Doctor falling off a balcony into the depths of who knows what, unreality, antimatter universe.
Yeah, the underworld.
The upside down from Needful Things. Stranger Things.
Stranger Things.
Needful Things is something else.
Yeah. No, it's there's a lot. Are we living in one division?
Gosh. Listener, are we
Kind of.
Are we playing several different characters in different genres? Let us know at greatandsecretknowledge@gmail.com. Draw some fan art. Put us in different costumes. We'll allow it.
Yeah, absolutely. Art is, completely open to interpretation.
Yeah. Well, right now I feel like I'm in a mystery genre. I'm trying to pick all the bits and pieces out of what's in this season and what's in ancient Time Lord lore. Russell is like one of the biggest fans of Doctor Who there is. Who knows how many of the books he's read, the comic strips, the Big Finish audios. We don't know what he would draw on, if any of it. We know there are extra Time Lords now, but will there be others
How many?
besides Rani and Omega? Susan?
I think so.
Is Susan still alive?
Well, yeah, Susan. And what's the deal with Poppy? Is Poppy a Time Lord?
Oh my God, is Poppy a Time Lord?
I think so.
I was thinking at the start of the season how funny it would be if Russell inserted himself as a character into the show, a la Dark Tower series, before he is done with Disney or whatever. If he's just like, I'll slide myself in there somewhere.
I mean, he kind of did in the Three Fans.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, that'd be a version of his younger self for sure.
Love it.
Because he's such a massive super fan.
Oh, bet there's a little bit of him and Gary and Mike. Just gaga over the Doctor.
How could you not?
I'd do anything for you, Doctor. Anything.
I still think they were afraid of him.
Afraid of him? Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Because there was a couple of moments where they are absolutely horrified at him.
Yeah, you got to get in good with gods so they don't squash you.
Yeah. So many things this episode reminded me of. Because I love to draw connections between things. I've already mentioned WandaVision. Had that. It also has very big "Don't Worry, Darling" vibes.
Don't worry, darling.
If you've seen that.
I haven't.
It's a movie with Harry Styles and I think it's Florence Pugh. I won't elaborate if you haven't seen it because there is a massive twist. Just don't read too much. You don't want to spoil yourself. It's a good film.